This is the Free Rebel Podcast.
This is the Revolution Review for Thursday, June 16th. The endgame is drawing near, yet remains elusive. As the Gaddafi regime bucks wildly against the inevitable, opposition to Gaddafi's tyranny grows increasingly more organized and resolute. One of the most stunning changes within the last week includes the continued liberation of towns in the Nafusa Western Mountains. Yefren, which had been under violent occupation for months, is now liberated, and freedom fighters are surveying the extreme physical and emotional damage from war crimes perpetrated by Gaddafi's forces. Our FLP correspondent in Nafusa brings us a freedom fighter's account on the situation in Yefren after Gaddafi's troops were expelled.
And I am from Yefren, and I live in Yefren. The situation in Yefren, it's too bad. It's a disaster. It's a miserable. The people who lives there, they lives under Gaddafi's groups almost 2 months. There is no power, no electricity, no water, no food, no medicine. And the hospital of Yefren, all the Gaddafi's people, they were living there inside the hospital. And they treat all the doctors and nurses very, very bad. And at night, they got drunk and they tried to play with their guns. How they play with their guns? They shooting dogs, cat. They don't have manner, those people. I don't know really how to explain what kind of people they are.
How did the freedom fighters survive for 2 months with no aid, no food, no water? How was it possible?
To be honest with you, it's not possible. But there is something strong. It gives us a power. I mean God. Everybody lives there, has feeling God with us all the time, everywhere, anywhere. And there is another story. There is a group of Ukrainian. They work in the hospital as a doctor, as a physician and nurses. When they saw everything and every day how they shoot the people in Yefren and how they stop electricity and food and the water and the medicine, and even if you have anyone he gets sick, it's not possible to go to the hospital. It's danger to go there. So after 50 days or more, after they get free, they thought all the people in Yefren get died, because they saw every day and night those people shooting them, and they treat them very badly. They don't have manner, they don't have humanity. So they thought all people who lives in Yefren get died. But after 50 days, the people came to the hospital. They cannot believe how it could happen. People, they don't have anything and they still survive and live until this time. We are not a fighting. We are not a killing. We need just freedom. We need just a democracy. We need to live like other people live. We don't like to use a gun or kill anybody, even if they are with the Gaddafi's regime. I feel very sorry when those people get died. So we are not a criminal. He is a criminal. He doesn't have a manner. But we have a good manner. And even when they catch some of them, they treat them very, very well. But them, when they catch anyone from us, they treat them very, very bad. So this is my message to the world. So we are normal a human being, and we need to live like a human being anywhere in the world. And this is, I think it's the simple thing we are talking about. Thank you.
Thank you.
As more areas are liberated, the extent of Gaddafi's depravity is being discovered. Although the opposition has managed to gain ground against Gaddafi's vast military machine, Gaddafi forces persist in the shelling and violent bombardment of civilian areas, including Nalut, Misrata, and beyond. The Libyan people continue to request NATO's support for both military and humanitarian aid. Only 100 kilometers away, Tripoli gasps for air under the suffocating yet loosening grip of the Gaddafi regime. For an exclusive Tripoli update, we turn to our FLP correspondent on the ground.
This is a Tripoli update for the Free Libya podcast from the Free Generation Movement, a Tripoli-based movement focused on the resistance to the tyrannical, illegitimate regime, as well as broad-spectrum development projects in the soon-to-be Free Libya. Since the last podcast edition, Tripoli has seen some significant developments. In the last few days, we have witnessed here the most intensive and most continuous NATO bombing within a period of 24 hours. Bab al-Azaziyah as well as other Tripoli targets were repeatedly bombed. Locals were on rooftops and on street corners in their hundreds, in awe of what was going on. Smiles and joy were visible on all faces, with no indication of anger or resentment. Security forces seemed chaotic and in disarray. In the night, with suspicion that activists would opportunistically take to the streets, security forces regrouped and began roaming the streets, shooting sporadically into the air to discourage any notion of dissent. Locals in their thousands continued to whistle, cheer and declare Allahu Akbar from rooftops during NATO raids in Tripoli, to the anger of security forces, who again roamed the streets, shooting into the air in an attempt to silence an unsilenceable voice. In the last days, we have also seen the outpouring of thousands onto the streets of Souq al-Juma after the funeral of freedom fighters. The crowd sang our original national anthem and chanted anti-regime slogans and even carried our independence flag. An hour or so later, security forces arrived and immediately began using lethal force to disperse the crowd, using live ammunition to shoot directly at us. The Free Generation Movement has provided video of the above events, including the capture and killing of our freedom fighters. Check fgm-libya.org for more info. Activity continues to increase on a daily basis in Tripoli, with further protests in Ben Ashur district sparked off by the killing of a man by security forces. It was unclear why he was killed, but hundreds took to the streets as they did a couple of weeks ago. This time the security response was heavier, with the use of live 14mm rounds which could be seen hitting buildings indiscriminately. Similarly, armed activity against Katiba forces continues. The Free Generation Movement was present in Busitta district, where a man with a rifle shot at security forces repeatedly before escaping on foot. After a minute of unprofessional chaos, demonstrating how ill-prepared and how poorly trained they are, the security forces then took chase of the freedom fighter, only to return 5 minutes later, empty-handed. The food situation in Tripoli is not critical, but inflation has seen prices 3 times that before the uprising. Imported goods are now no longer available in significant quantities, but staple food products are available due to the availability from Tunis and the largely patent border. The fuel situation remains dire. There is a wholesale absence of fuel, with only momentary and limited availability of fuel in the city. Those waiting in queues may expect to wait between 4 to 6 days to fill up, if at all. The situation is unsustainable. The university remains in the midst of a large-scale boycott, despite state TV attempts to deny this. Tripoli University, formerly Jamiat al-Fatah under the illegitimate regime, is close to empty on a daily basis. Morale in the city remains high on the back of significant gains by the fighters in the Western Mountain Range and by our brave people in Misrata. There are some concerns about the new assault in Misrata, but in Tripoli it is being interpreted as a last-gasp push by a regime with very little room to maneuver. A military officer, a member of the Free Generation Movement, has informed us of the recent bombing of 2 mobile radar units in Maitiga airport. Such was the accuracy of the bombing, the ground beneath was not even charred, nor was a nearby army tent affected. This is remarkable and further demonstrates the nature of the NATO campaign in Tripoli, which has resulted in very little collateral damage. In light of the story, many of you may have heard about the doctor who passed the note to a journalist informing them that the patient being paraded as a NATO victim was indeed a victim of a road traffic accident. 2 doctors from that hospital have now been arrested. We have received this info from very reliable sources. We wish them well and a speedy release. The Free Generation Movement would like to wish everyone fighting this cause good luck. We look forward to updating you all soon from the capital. That's all for now on the Free Libya podcast, Tripoli Update.
So after almost 4 months of revolution, which began with and continues to include peaceful protests and acts of civil disobedience, Libya continues to fight for freedom. But why are Libyans fighting the Gaddafi regime? What do we have to gain? The answer is everything. For the last word, we asked Libyan youth in the country to reflect on Libya and a future they would like to see. And I hope we all live to see it, inshaAllah. That's it from FLP, and here's the last word.
What are you most looking forward to in the Free Libya?
I'm looking forward to the relief of knowing I don't have to be scared anymore.
I can't wait to see the independence flag flying over Martyrs Square and the joy in people's faces. And I can't wait to sing the national anthem with my 2 daughters.
I'm looking forward to establish a very modern, advanced education system in the country.
And so what we want to do is show, or not just show, we want to live.
This is the Free Libya podcast. Thank you for listening.
For more information or to leave a suggestion, visit facebook.com/FLpodcast or twitter.com/FLpodcast.